What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, I'm gonna be talking about Static, Shadows of Dakota number 5 by Nicholas Draper Ivey and Vita Ayala. Okay, so this issue, this is the aftermath of everything that happened with Quincy. Like, it's now sunken in for Virgil in this issue, like what all has happened. And we now know that Virgil knows more explicitly what was done to Quincy. We're never shown, we don't see a body, which honestly, I'm kind of grateful for. I don't think we really needed to see Quincy dead in order for it to all hit home for us. I feel like it's more important for it to hit home for Static than it is to hit home for the audience, because I feel like the audience is just gonna naturally, or I would hope, more naturally care that this has happened. But I like the juxtaposition in this issue of what Static is going through compared to what Ebon is going through in this issue. It is something that I feel works really well. I think that both Nicholas Draper Ivey and Vita Ayala really did a great job crafting this element where we see that Static is down in the dumps. He is broken. He is heartbroken. He is starting to wonder if his way of doing things is ineffective. If he would have killed the men who ultimately went after Quincy, then everything would have been fine. Quincy would still be alive. If he didn't take the half measure of simply running them off or just beating them up and sending them on their way, they wouldn't have come back and killed someone who Static cared about. And all the while, we have Ebon, who has no compunctions whatsoever about killing anyone when it comes to protecting himself and his own. So we know that Ebon's the guy that would have just done it. We've seen him attempt to kill people and actually succeed in killing people on multiple occasions. And the whole idea here, and I even talked about a little bit in the previous video, how when I said Ebon was kind of like the Magneto of the Milestone media universe, the Dakota-verse, if you will, that Ebon's the guy that believes that the ends are going to justify the means. He's the guy that's going to believe that you have to catch some bodies in order to make some change. And while I definitely am one of those people who will agree that there are some people who you can't reason with, there are some people who cannot be rehabilitated, I do feel there are people who can. And while I definitely think there is some merit to some of the things that Ebon espouses, I'm also not a person who just believes that everyone should be executed unilaterally for doing something bad. But at the same time, I'm also not a person who believes that every person should be coddled and slapped on the wrist unilaterally for something that they do. I like how in this issue, Static is wrestling with what to do. He's wrestling with whether or not he should have killed those people. But I also feel like some people are gonna get the wrong message from this, because some people are gonna think, oh yeah, he's just gonna start killing people. And honestly, if you are a person who claims to be a fan of Static, that you grew up loving Static, and you think Static should kill people to save others, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, I think you missed the point of the character. The idea that Static does not kill is what makes Static who he is, because he's better than that. That was the whole point. Now, admittedly, with the original Milestone Media series, I was always a huge critic of Static's original origin. In the original Milestone Media comics, the reasoning behind why Static was there at Paris Island, Virgil Hawkins was ready to kill Francis because Francis had been bullying him on the regular. But at the end of the day, he decided not to, because he knew deep down he wasn't a killer. He wasn't someone who could just kill someone in cold blood. And while I felt like that aspect of his origin was just a touch heavy-handed, even though I totally understood what Dwayne McDuffie and Robert L. Washington were trying to, come up with for this, it was just a smidge heavy-handed, just in my opinion personally, which is why I had no issue with Static's origin being changed in the new Dakota-verse. But that is essentially a huge portion of Static's character. Of course, he's not going to kill anyone. He doesn't want to. He doesn't need to kill anyone. He is supposed to be that beacon, that ray of hope, and the words of wisdom that Virgil's mother is imparting upon him are the very thing I say all the time. And I know it's something that people think is cliche, but it's not something that is untrue. If you kill a killer, then the number of killers in the world does not change. Killing someone for killing someone is not going to fix anything, because there are still going to be killers in the world. And not only have you yourself become a killer, and while you may think that, oh, you're justified in killing people because this person killed someone, therefore you get to be the judge, jury, and executioner. That is a very dangerous way of thinking, because regardless of what you feel about whether people should be killed for doing bad things or not, taking a life, whether you do it willingly or unwilling, is gonna be something that will change you. It will change who you are. And if you think killing someone, regardless of whether they deserve it or not, won't change you, go talk to some combat veterans who have taken lives. Your mileage will vary with their answers, but I guarantee you, if they're at least half a decent human being, as we want to believe Static is, they would probably tell you that it's changed them in some way. Personally, I think anyone who can kill indiscriminately, but can still maintain a sunny disposition, as well as a very snappy sense of humor, as well as having a tight 10 when it comes to their stand-up routine while they're fighting bad guys, is just Deadpool. And I think we have enough Deadpools. Now, the real question here is, because at the end of this issue, this question is posed to Static, is whether or not he's going to work with Ebon. And I talked about this in my previous video, that there is going to come a moment where Static and Ebon will very likely have to come together and work against a common foe, but the real trick is for how long and whether or not Static is going to be down with whatever it is Ebon's going to do. Now, we know that Static cannot hold a candle right now to Ebon, and it's funny that I say that because that's kind of what he's going to have to do, because we know right now that the reason Ebon needs Static is because the people holding his brother Adam, aka the Rubber Band Man, hostage, they know Ebon's weakness. And Ebon's weakness is you hitting that subscribe button. I'm not joking. His weakness is anyone who is not subscribed to this channel hitting that subscribe button and also tapping that notification bell, so that way you're notified about every video that I put out and you don't miss anything. He also has another weakness, and it's you clicking that like button, because if you're still here at this particular point in the video, clearly you must like it at least a little bit. So go ahead, Hulk smash that like button. But in all seriousness, Ebon, because of the nature of his ability to control and manipulate as well as become living shadow, Ebon is deathly allergic to extremely bright light, and the room that Adam is being kept in is completely awash in bright light. When Ebon tries to enter the room, the light itself burns him. He needs someone who can help shut all that down, and that will be Static. We've seen him shut down an entire building, draining an entire warehouse that was retrofitted to keep bang babies locked away. He was able to completely sap away all of the electricity in the building, and that is what Ebon needs Static to do. But we know that when Ebon gets in that building, he's gonna kill anyone he comes into contact with that is not his brother. We know he's gonna do that, and Static is not gonna sit by and watch it happen. Now, while Static will likely form an alliance with Ebon to save his fellow bang babies and help bring the people who killed Quincy to justice, he's not gonna sit by and just let Ebon kill indiscriminately. And while Static's mind has been occupied with thoughts of his sadness due to the loss of Quincy, I think he's also probably been occupying his thoughts with how to stop Ebon. And I'm pretty sure Virgil, being as smart a kid as he is, he's gonna figure it out real quick. Yeah, sure, Ebon, he's very powerful, even powerful enough to take down Static by himself with no help whatsoever. He's a guy who can literally shut down Static just by dragging him into his own personal shadow realm. But you know how I joked earlier about Ebon having a second weakness? Yeah, I know, another plug to like the video, but in all seriousness, he does have another weakness, and that's his own brother, Adam, the Rubber Band Man. Those of you who are familiar with the Static Shock animated series, you probably remember Adam was kind of a soft spot for Ebon, and while it didn't always necessarily pay dividends in the long run, I could easily see Nicholas Draper Ivey and Vita Ayala taking the Rubber Band Man and giving him somewhat of a similar arc. In the animated series, Rubber Band Man started out as a pseudo-villainous character, but ultimately became a good guy not long after that. I could see Ebon attempting to kill Static, or see Static attempting to stop Ebon from killing someone else, and Adam stepping in and backing Static up, despite all the craziness that Adam just went through. Now, another direction that Nicholas and Vita could take this is that instead of just going straight to the hero arc of Rubber Band Man, maybe have him lean into his anger and resentment at normal humans for all the pain and suffering that he went through being trapped by this shady government op, and then later on down the road take the hero's journey. It could easily go that way too, or maybe they could just change the character entirely and make him a mixture of the original animated series version of Rubber Band Man and a mixture of the Rubber Band Man from the original Milestone Media comics, who was not a good guy at all. Regardless of the situation, Static has more than one option on the table to take Ebon down, whether it's the weakness to his powers being bright light, or his emotional weakness for his own brother Adam, or it could just simply be that Static is infinitely more intelligent than Ebon is. While Ebon is an incredibly streetwise character, he's no super genius on the level that Static is, and Static can outthink pretty much any problem that he comes across. But who knows? Maybe Nicholas Draper Ivy and Vita Ayala, maybe they might surprise us and have Ebon soften his stance on killing a little bit. Maybe Static can get through to him and maybe help him see there is a better way to deal with things, but nah, don't do that. Let Ebon be Ebon, let Static be Static, let them work together occasionally, or maybe see each other as useful when it's necessary. I like the idea of them being the opposing forces in this, Static being the Charles Xavier to Ebon's Magneto. I am 100% in for it. While I think Ebon is a far more interesting character now than he ever was on the animated series, and I feel like he is definitely a good foil for Static, I don't want to see Ebon taking any, heroic turns anytime soon. While I think there are definitely characters who can be redeemed, and I do like to see a villain that's been a villain for a while be redeemed, I sometimes like to see bad people be bad people, especially when they're really good at it. But anyways, that's everything I want to talk about with Static Shadows of Dakota number 5. If you enjoyed this video, do the YouTube thing, like, share, comment, subscribe, and make sure you tap that notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that I put out. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, let me know what you thought about Static Shadows of Dakota number 5. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.